Good morning, everyone. I am Ms. Republica Borgoy, Assistant Professor at Sam Downtown University, Guwahati, Department of Pharmaceutical Science. So today I will be discussing about the minerals as an overview. I'll discuss about the body's handling of minerals. Minerals also differ from vitamins in the amounts the body can absorb and in the extent to which they must be specially handled. Some minerals such as potassium are easily absorbed and readily excreted like the water-soluble vitamins. Some minerals such as calcium need carriers to be absorbed and transported. Now comes the variable bioavailability. Some foods contain binders that combine chemically with minerals, preventing their absorption and carrying them out of the body with other wastes. Examples of binders are phytates, which are found primarily in legumes and grains. Excuse me. Another example of a binder is oxalates, which are present in rhubarb and spinach. Now, coming to the nutrient interactions. The presence or absence of one mineral can affect another's absorption, metabolism, and excretion. The interaction between sodium and calcium cause both to be excreted when sodium intakes are too high. Phosphorus binds with magnesium in the gastrointestinal tract, so magnesium absorption is limited when phosphorus intakes are too high. Then now the varied roles. All of the major minerals help to maintain the body's fluid balance. Sodium, chloride, and potassium are most noted for this role. Other minerals have roles in bone growth and health: calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. So now comes the role of sodium in the life processes. So sodium's role in the body is the principal cation of the extracellular fluid and the primary regulator of its volume. It helps maintaining acid-base balance and essential to nerve impulse transmission and muscle contraction. Now sodium recommendations. Diets rarely lack sodium, and even when intakes are low, the body adapts by reducing sodium losses in urine and sweat. Sodium recommendations are set low enough to protect against high blood pressure, but high enough to allow an adequate intake of other nutrients with a typical diet. Upper level of sodium intake for adults is 2400 mg. The average intake of sodium in the United States exceeds the upper level, and most adults will develop hypertension at some point in their life. Now, what is the role between the sodium and hypertension? For many years, high sodium intake was considered the primary factor responsible for high blood pressure. Salt, that is sodium chloride, is actually the cause. Salt has a greater effect on blood pressure than either sodium or chloride alone. For some individuals, blood pressure increases in response to excesses in salt intake. People most likely to have a salt sensitivity include those whose parents had high blood pressure, those with chronic kidney disease or diabetes, African Americans, and people over the age of 50. Overweight people also appear to be particularly sensitive to the effect of salt on blood pressure. Sodium and bone loss. A high salt intake is also associated with increased calcium excretion, but its influence on bone loss is less clear. Potassium may prevent the increase in calcium excretion caused by a high salt diet. Then sodium in foods. Processed foods contain the most sodium, whereas unprocessed foods such as fresh fruits, vegetables, milk, and meats have the least amount of sodium. 75% of sodium in people's diet comes from salt added to foods by the manufacturer. 10% comes from salt added during cooking, and 10% comes from the natural content in foods. Now comes what is the role of chloride in the body. Chloride maintains fluid and electrolyte balance as sodium and potassium. Inside the stomach, chloride is part of hydrochloric acid, which maintains the strong acidity of the gastric juice. Its recommendations and intakes. Chloride is abundant in foods, especially processed foods, as part of sodium chloride and other salts, because the proportion of chloride in salt is greater than sodium. Chloride recommendations are slightly higher, but still equivalent to those of sodium. Now, chloride deficiency and toxicity. Diets rarely lack chloride. Chloride's losses may occur in conditions such as heavy sweating, chronic diarrhea, and vomiting. So in my next video, I will be discussing about the other roles in the body for potassium, sulfate, etc. Thank you.